Welcome back, everyone, to Federal Partnerships and Advocacy for Youth. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Robinson, Executive Director of Work-Based Learning and Industry Partnerships at Houston Community College. My co-host, Mr. James Carnes, Department of Labor Representative, here today to talk about women. More importantly, women and youth in apprenticeships. We're super excited to delve into women in apprenticeships. And this week, and the reason we're doing today's show is on behalf of Youth Apprenticeship Week. Youth Apprenticeship Week is an annual event dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of apprenticeship programs for young individuals entering the workforce. And during this week-long celebration, May 5th through the 9th, organizations, educational institutions, and government agencies come together to highlight the benefits of apprenticeships for both employers and apprentices alike. It serves as an opportunity to showcase stories, promote collaboration between industry partners and educational institutions, and attach misconceptions that we may or may not know about youth apprenticeships. Youth Apprenticeship Week aims to inspire young people to explore alternative pathways to career success while fostering a culture of lifelong learning, skills, and development. And here today, we're very fortunate that we have Bianca Delgado-Jones with us. Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Christina. Good morning.
Good morning. Bianca serves as the Program Analyst and Presidential Management Fellow for the U.S. Department of Labor's Women's Bureau. She is passionate about economic development, equity, and responsible for leadership. Her academic background is focused on economic development of post-conflict zones. She has a diverse professional background, including media development from Ameria, after-school program development in Egypt, and political party strengthening in Tunisia. Bianca is originally from and currently based in Houston, Texas, and she's excited to continue working with the community. So once again, she is the South Central Program Analyst. Welcome to the show, Bianca.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. So our first question for you is, what initiatives is the Women's Bureau of Labor currently undertaking to promote youth apprenticeships, specifically tailored for young women?
Thank you for that question. So first, let me give a quick overview of what the Women's Bureau is. We are one of the oldest agencies within the U.S. Department of Labor, and we were established on June 5th, 1920. And then the Women's Bureau is the only federal agency tasked with focusing exclusively on working women and the issues that impact them. And then finally, we have 3 priorities, which will get us into the apprenticeship space. So the first one is getting more women in pathways to high-wage jobs. One of the main ways we do that is by supporting the development of pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs that cater directly to women and underserved populations. The second priority is expanding access to paid leave and affordable childcare. And then the third is addressing gender-based violence and harassment in the world of work. And those 2 points are really important in the apprenticeship space, because if you're going to bring women into non-traditional occupations and male-dominated fields, which many apprenticeships programs are, then we need to take those 2 factors into account, which is why we work on them. Now, to your question, Christina, apologies. So the Women's Bureau focuses on apprenticeship development, of course, and we specifically tailor them to women. So a primary example is by working with high schools and with your local Job Corps. And Job Corps is actually a free education and vocational training program for young people, and it directly serves 16 to 24-year-olds. And a lot of this work is to try to get young people to have the skills they need in order to succeed in these non-traditional occupations. And that's what we directly work with. The South Central team is beginning to expand its youth and young women targeted apprenticeship programs, but many of the programs that we work with are already overlapping in that space. And I'll mention that partner at a later point.
Okay, great. And as I'm hearing you speak about this, about how many individuals do you guys work with across the country? Because I know you're very large, or I mean, you might be able to speak specifically to South Texas about your impact.
So we work in 6 regions, which cover all 50 states of the United States. And I cannot give you an exact number because I do not know offhand, but I'd be happy to send it if you want to include it later on. And I know we support multiple apprenticeship programs, and we use grants to help community-based organizations establish those programs with other community partners. So it's a very advisory type role. We are considered an influencing agency. So we kind of get the conversation started, bring people together, and help them put these dreams into place, essentially.
Yeah, and I think you're leading straight into the next question is how do you guys collaborate with employers and educational institutions to ensure equitable access for young women, right?
Yes, I am so excited to answer this question. So, because we just had a great example in San Antonio. But first, I'll outline what our primary role is. So the primary role of the Women's Bureau is to provide a gender lens in rooms, conversations, and other spaces that have not historically included that perspective. So remembering that a gender lens just considers the direct impact that being a woman in certain workspaces has on their needs and what will guarantee success for their apprenticeship program or for their career pathway that they've chosen. Our role at the Women's Bureau is to facilitate conversations, convene diverse groups of stakeholders. That's what we specifically do in the regions, and use our resources to bring these diverse groups of people to the table to discuss the barriers to entry that half of our population faces as they search for and enter good paying and male dominated career pathways. So that is our primary focus right now regarding apprenticeship programs, is entering these non-traditional occupations.
So when you're speaking about non-traditional occupations, because I am so passionate about non-traditional occupations with apprentices, right? Because everybody likes to think of construction as the occupation of norm, right? And over the last couple of years, you've really seen this explosion of occupations, be it IT, lots of different occupations, right? So can you speak to some of those non-traditional occupations that you all are seeing and working with?
Yes. So we definitely support the apprenticeship programs within the construction and manufacturing space, but we're also trying to get to reconsider what non-traditional can mean. So whether that is IT, whether that is more of the STEM related fields, just figuring out what the barriers to entry are and trying to remove them so that we're seeing more gender parity in these high paying fields. Because that's our ultimate goal, is we know that women are capable of working in these spaces, and that we want to identify why that isn't happening. And that's what these apprenticeship programs help with.
And I'm curious, I know there's this big push right now, green initiatives. Are you guys touching anything with climate, green energy, everything like that?
So that is a developing partnership here in the south of Texas, and I'm really excited about that. So we have close relationships with our Department of Energy counterparts, and we are trying to bring that gender lens into that space. And we're very fortunate that the Department of Energy is quite aligned regarding women in these workspaces. And so I think this will be something that will positively affect Texas and especially many of the states in our region that are getting large amounts of federal investments in the clean energy space, even in the manufacturing and construction space right now. So yeah, we're very fortunate that things are getting pushed in that direction. Do I have time to share a quick success story from?
So Bianca, can you please just share some of your success stories or case studies or any information that you might have from that people benefited from participating in registered apprenticeship programs facilitated by your organization?
Yeah, so again, I love to give credit to the community-based organizations that we partner with, because they're the ones doing the heavy lifting. We are providing an influence and advisory role and just thinking through and creating action plans in partnership with our community-based organizations. They're the real heroes in this space. But we have a great example from San Antonio, which is obviously like 3 hours away from Houston, but within the vicinity. So the Women's Bureau held an equity summit in partnership with the city of San Antonio, and that took place in late February 2024. The equity summit convened close to 250 participants, and it included employers, union members, workers, community leaders, and local community colleges to discuss a pilot program that San Antonio is currently implementing. And that program is called Ready to Work. So the city is essentially allocating millions of dollars to try and shore up its workforce to meet the current needs of the manufacturing and construction industry in San Antonio. They're facing this problem of they don't have enough workers with the skills that are needed to fill the jobs that they have because they're getting so many investments from the infrastructure projects that are directly happening in San Antonio. And so the cool thing that this program does is it's focusing on equity. It's focusing on how we can create equitable pathways to these good paying jobs. And Ready to Work is essentially an apprenticeship program. So they bring people on, they train them, they give them all the skills that they need in order to get into these roles, and then they connect them with the employers that they need to be connected with in order to take what they learned and put it into practice. And so that's one of the greatest things that's happening that we know of within our state. And it's a shining example of how like working with like city leaders and working with employers and working with union members to have everyone come to a table and discuss some of the issues they're facing and then find solutions to those issues. That was all accomplished in a 2-day equity summit, and that there's ongoing conversations that are taking place and that are directly influencing the way San Antonio's budget is set to be allocated for this next year. So that's a really incredible thing that we've been able to.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. And then I was just going to say to James's specific question about success stories or case studies. So this is going to be more specific to what the Women's Bureau does, and it has a Houston connection, which is kind of exciting. So the Women's Bureau has this fantastic and highly competitive grant called the Women in Apprenticeship and Non-Traditional Occupations. And this grant supports the expansion of apprenticeships and non-traditional occupations for women through 3 primary pathways. The first is developing pre-apprenticeship or non-traditional skills training programs to prepare women for non-traditional careers. And then the second is providing ongoing orientations for employers, unions, and workers. And then the third is setting up support groups and facilitating the development and expansion of networks and support services for women to improve their retention in apprenticeship programs and non-traditional occupations. And James was in a meeting with this group just last week, but I would like to shine a light on Sarah Jobs, who is based in Southeast Houston, apologies. And they've received 2 of these highly competitive WANTO grants. So they specifically work on bringing women into non-traditional occupations and apprenticeship programs. And they also focus on including underrepresented groups of women. So that includes women from the reentry workspace, women from like underrepresented populations. And it's a very cool program. This grant kind of provides a proof of concept for local partners, funders, and anyone else who is interested in providing training and apprenticeship opportunities in a given area. But again, this program is directly based in Houston, so it's pretty cool that we have a winner essentially in our city.
Yeah, we work with Sir Jobs as well, so it is a great program. So you mentioned employers and working with employers. What resources and support do you all provide employers as part of creating an apprenticeship program that's inclusive and supportive to young women entering traditionally male-dominated fields?
Yeah, so well, that's the fun thing about the Women's Bureau is that we have a wealth of resources on our website that we often bring down to the local level. So of course, no one's going to sit there and like peruse a federal agency's websites and like go through toolkits and like databases and stuff like that. But that's our job is we meet with stakeholders, we meet with employers, we meet with workers, and we try to understand what their concerns are, what limitations they're facing, and we identify the resources that we need to bring to the table so that we can present that information and kind of get those conversations moving in a positive direction, in a solution-oriented direction. So on our website, which you're welcome to peruse to anyone listening, the resources that we have include policy briefs, data analysis with really beautiful graphics, long form reports, and then we also can provide technical assistance whenever we know what exactly is needed. So technical assistance just includes those convening those conversations, like getting down into the details of the problem and trying to help find solutions, again, with a community lens and a gender lens in mind. Oh, apologies. I have one more thing I can say on
fine.
this.
Keep going.
Yeah. And then we have this really great equity toolkit. So this was released in the early fall of 2023. But essentially, this toolkit helps employers and employees walk through recruitment and retention barriers within programs. So it can be within the general workforce or within apprenticeship programs. And so it's just trying to get individuals to see what can easily be overlooked if you're not used to using a gender lens. So that's essentially what the equity toolkit does, and it's very comprehensive but also user friendly.
Great. Well, I know we have just a few minutes left, so any final words for our audience on how the Women's Bureau advocates for policies to advance gender equity and the participation of young women in traditional or non-traditional career paths?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. The Women's Bureau does not directly advocate for policies, but essentially our role, like I said, is to be an influencing agency. So it's bringing that conversation up. It's getting those ideas into people's ears and getting them to ask questions about the ideas and engaging in deeper conversations. And so as we've seen with many movements in our history, is that the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you take the considerations of, minority populations, and in this case, half the population. As you consider those needs more, you start to find solutions because you see the value in investing more time into finding solutions, because at the end of the day, it benefits our local and national economy to have women in the workforce and to have them in good paying jobs. So that's what the Women's Bureau does overall.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to the Women's Bureau, what's the best way for them to reach you all?
You can reach us in a variety of ways. So if you're in the 8 states that we cover, which I can list them if that's useful. Okay. So we work on Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, great state of Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So if you reside in any of those states, you're more than welcome to email me. I can say the email. It's my last name, Delgado-Jones, no hyphen, .bianca.i@dol.gov. Or you can just go to the Women's Bureau's website, which I don't know offhand, so I apologize. But you can go to the Women's
later in our presentation. Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for being on today's show. Thank you for all that you guys do to help support women and grow women in apprenticeships. My name's Dr. Christina Robinson. I'm here with James Carnes. This show is hosted and sponsored by the Gulf Coast Region Apprenticeship Hub and the Department of Labor. We are so excited to wrap up Youth Apprenticeship Week with our federal advocacy and partnership stories. And we look forward to seeing you the week of May 5th through the 9th for Youth Apprenticeship Week. Once again, thank you to our guest, and we look forward to seeing you on our next show. Have a great day.